Well, joining me now from here in Washington is Joseph Glauber. He's a Senior Research Fellow with the International Food Policy Research Institute. Welcome to the program, Joe. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks very much, Gerald.
Of course. So, as we mentioned, that food prices continue to decline in China. Not as steeply as before, but still on the down. What's driving this?
Well, I think, you've seen a deceleration in prices globally. Commodity prices are down for most of the grains and oilseeds, so important crops like wheat and corn and soybeans have all fallen a lot since those peaks we saw in 2022. The exception would be rice. World rice prices have remained high, but apart from that, most prices have come down. And China, like the U.S., have seen very, very low inflation rates and in some cases declining food prices over the last several months.
And of course, Joe, for many consumers all over, falling food prices could be seen as a great relief. I mean, I don't have to tell you this. We live in D.C. and going to the supermarkets these days, the sticker shock alone. But what's the concern if the cost of food keeps falling in China?
Well, I think, again, the critical thing is what does it mean also for farmers and what prices mean there. I think globally, you're absolutely, in terms of consumers, you're absolutely right. The consumers like to see their prices come down that they're paying at food stores. And as you say, food inflation has been quite high, particularly in developed countries like the U.S. and parts of Europe. But the real issue, I think if you look at the farm level, those prices have been low and farmers have felt squeezed with higher input costs and lower output costs.
So, as we talk about China, you really have to look at food security, which is so closely tied to social stability. Keeping food costs low is really important. Feeding the people, it's a big thing. But so is also spurring demand, right? How does the Chinese government negotiate these forces?
Well, I think, obviously income is a big part of it, right? So food prices can be low, but households have to have enough income to afford food, and obviously food is one of the first things you consume when you make money. But I think it's a strong economy, a growing economy is very important to keep household incomes growing, and so that you can see a continuation of this big transformation. Obviously, we've seen in China over the last 30 years or so, as we've seen growing incomes across households, and that's been very important for diets. That's been very important for the sorts of meat and movement to meats and dairy products and other things that have been so important.
And the issue of food security, has been at the forefront, especially with geopolitical instability everywhere. The conflict in Ukraine, of course, comes to mind. Earlier, talking about all these prices going up globally, even though they're softening now. And of course, the increasing effects of climate change also affecting food production. How has China managed to ensure food supplies for its people?
Well, China has long had a policy towards food security, and they are largely self-sufficient when it comes to wheat and rice production, certainly. Obviously, on the animal production side, China has to import some feed. They also produce a lot of feed for their animals as well, but that also is a very important component. And there, I think the good news is that feed costs for things like soybeans and maize and barley and other feed grains has been far, far lower than now than it was, say, 2 years ago.
And this is a good thing then?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good thing, because that means livestock producers are paying less to feed their hogs or their chickens or their dairy cows. And so all that's very important for maintaining profitability in that sector, which means that meats and dairy products and other things will be produced in ample portions for Chinese consumers.
Joseph Glauber with the International Food Policy Research Institute. Thanks so much for your time, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.